Assalamu alaikum. This is my lecture about my course, Advanced Cost Accounting, 4th year, Accounting Department and Customs Department, lecture number 8. Up till now, I speak about standard costing. In the previous lecture, I explained the third part of variance analysis of manufacturing cost. I mean manufacturing overhead. In the previous lecture, if you remember, I classified the overhead into two parts: variable overhead and fixed manufacturing overhead. When I analyze overhead, I told you I have a problem because I have to use budgets, and I prepare budget using hours, direct labor hours or machine hours. So when I analyze variable overhead, I told you that I analyze the variances like direct labor variances, but instead of rate variance in manufacturing overhead, we say, in variable I mean, we say spending variance, and efficiency will be the same. Efficiency, if you remember, the difference between hours, actual hours, and standard hours allowed for actual production, and spending, the difference between actual rate and standard rate. Today, بإذن I will explain the last part in our standard costing variance analysis. I mean fixed manufacturing overhead. In direct labor, I use maybe equations, maybe performance report. In variable manufacturing overhead, I use also maybe equations or performance report. But here, when I speak about fixed manufacturing overhead variances analysis, I will use only performance report. Don't forget, when I speak about performance report, I need to calculate the total variance and then the reasons. The reasons when I use performance report will be two. The reasons for direct material, if you remember, quantity and price. The reasons for direct labor, efficiency and rate. The reasons for variable manufacturing overhead, spending and efficiency. What about the reasons for fixed manufacturing overhead and how to calculate these variances? My model, or to prepare the performance report to analyze fixed manufacturing overhead, I need, like any performance report, the actual. Here, actual fixed overhead. The last one here, the last one, applied fixed overhead. And in the middle, I need to calculate budget fixed overhead. Actual, I know the actual. What is the difference between budget, fixed overhead, and applied overhead? If you remember, in third year in cost accounting principles, when I prepare and calculate the job cost, job order cost, I mean, how to calculate the applied overhead, how to calculate the predetermined rate to allocate manufacturing overhead. Okay, if you remember me, what is the difference between budget and applied? Budget, here I have standard hours or budgeted hours for the budget times standard rate for fixed overhead. But when I speak about applied, I speak about standard hours allowed. Here, standard hours for the budget. Here, standard hours allowed for actual production, not for the budget, but for actual production. Times here also standard rate. So the difference between number 2 and number 3, not standard rate for fixed overhead, but standard hours. Standard hours for budget or budgeted hours here, and here standard hours allowed for actual production. Okay? The difference between actual and budgeted fixed overhead, we say budget variance. Again, we say budget variance. New terms for variances when I speak about fixed overhead analysis. Okay? The difference between 2 and 3, I mean the budgeted and applied. The difference here, I speak about hours according to budget, hours allowed according to actual production. Here I speak about capacity variance. Again, capacity variance. The names of variances when I speak about fixed overhead, budget and capacity. So you have to know the main reasons for variances: for direct material, quantity and price; for direct labor, efficiency and rate; for variable overhead, efficiency, spending; for fixed, budget and capacity. How to calculate budget? Budget is the difference between actual and budgeted. How to calculate capacity variance is the difference between budgeted and applied fixed overhead. Don't forget the difference between 1 and 3. Do you remember? Yes, it will be the total variance. Again, the total variance. The total variance of fixed overhead is the difference between actual and applied. You have to remember that the total variance must equal its components. Again, must equal, I mean, the total of budget and capacity variances. Okay? From a point of view, it's very simple to analyze fixed because most of your amounts are given. Not like variable, you have to know how to calculate everything. Okay? This is my example of previous lecture. I explain today not how to analyze the variable overhead, but I will complete the budget not for variable overhead only, but the variable and fixed. In previous lecture, I explained only variable overhead using performance report and using equation, if you remember. Today, بإذن I will complete speaking about how to analyze fixed overhead variances and repeat again the previous lecture. I mean, repeat again how to prepare performance report and how to prepare the equations for variable overhead. So today I will explain fixed and I will repeat again and revise everything about variable overhead. Okay? This is my information. This is my information. This budget and actual data. Okay. Budget or standard data and actual data. Don't forget, at the beginning of calculating variances for direct material, direct labor, or overhead, you have to calculate the amounts. You need table to direct material, direct labor, and variable overhead. But here I speak about only 3 amounts. Don't forget, I need to calculate actual, fixed, budgeted, fixed, and applied fixed. Okay, actual will be given. Budgeted from the budget, and the applied, it's your problem. You have to know how to calculate applied. Okay? Applied like Yes, like standard cost for material, for standard cost for direct labor, etc. Okay? I need what? I need actual number one here. Number one, I need actual fixed overhead. Actual fixed overhead. Actual, I will go to actual data here. Firstly, again, firstly, this is my information about fixed. Okay, fixed overhead according to budget here, and fixed overhead according to actual. What is the first amount needed to calculate the variances? Yes, actual. What is actual? It's actual. Actual fixed overhead. Actual, yes, 89. 89. It's actual again. Actual from my information. Here, the side of actual data. Actual here is 89, so I will choose actual 89. The second is what? I need budgeted fixed. Budget standard fixed. From what? From budget data. This is my budget data only for fixed. In previous lecture, if you remember, I use variable overhead, but today I will use fixed overhead. And this my amount is actual, and this my amount here is budgeted for the budget. It's for the budget. 90, yes, 90,000 here. Okay, again, from actual data, I choose actual fixed overhead. From budgeted data, I use budgeted fixed overhead. My problem here is applied. There is no applied. I have only two amounts here for fixed. I choose both of them in number 1 and 2. And applied, how to calculate applied? Again, don't forget, applied like standard cost. How to calculate standard cost for direct labor or for variable manufacturing overhead? If you remember, this is my equation. Again, this is my equation. Standard hours allowed times what? Standard rate. In previous lecture, if you remember, the same equation. I used the same equation, but still, instead of standard rate for fixed, I used standard rate for variable, again, for variable overhead. But today I speak of F here, abbreviation fixed overhead, okay? I need standard rate for fixed. So I have a standard rate for labor, standard rate for variable overhead, and here today I speak about standard rate for fixed overhead, okay? How to calculate standard hours allowed? And then how to calculate standard rate? How to calculate standard hours allowed for direct labor, for variable overhead, for fixed overhead? I use the same equation. The same equation. The same equation is what? Do you remember? Standard hours allowed for actual production. Again, for actual production. So I need here actual production times standard hours per unit. Actual production times standard hours per unit. Okay? If my budget is prepared according to the direct labor hours, again, if my budget is prepared according to direct labor hours, I will use standard hours allowed 3 times. Again, I will use standard hours allowed 3 times. I will use them in analyzing direct labor. I will use them in analyzing variable overhead. And I will use the same standard hours for actual production to analyze fixed. So I will not calculate this amount again. I calculated in details in previous lecture when I explained in details also variable overhead variance analysis, okay? So my problem today, not standard hours allowed, but how to calculate the standard rate for fixed. How to calculate the standard rate for fixed. Again, if you know how to calculate the standard rate for variable, you will know how to calculate the standard rate for fixed. Okay? Do you remember? Yes, I have equation. I need standard. Standard, so I will go to the budget. Again, the budget. This budget cost is the total budget cost. I don't need the total budget cost. I need standard rate per hour. Again, standard rate per hour, okay? How to calculate standard rate per hour? I have equation. This is my equation. Again, this is my equation. Standard rate for fixed will equal budget fixed overhead divided by budget hours. Again, budget fixed, budget hour. Both of them budgeted. Both of them budgeted. I need standard. So standard cost, standard hours, or like in third year in cost accounting, if you remember. Yes, estimated overhead divided by estimated activity base. Here, estimated overhead, I mean estimated or budget only fixed. And estimated activity base, here I mean budgeted hours, especially budget hours. Budget hours, according to my problem here, I speak about direct labor hours. But to prepare the budget, maybe I told you before, use direct labor hours or machine hours, okay? If you remember me, how to calculate standard rate, not for fixed here, but for variable in previous lecture, remember? What is the difference? Standard rate for variable, like standard rate for fixed, but the difference will be what? Yes, will be budget variable overhead divided by budget hours. So the same equation to calculate standard rates, regardless I speak about standard rate for variable or fixed. The difference in using variable amount or fixed amount, okay? So how to calculate standard rate for fixed? Here I have what? Here I have budget as my budget. My budget is my budget. My budget, okay? And I need what? Budgeted again hours. The rate per hour, not per units, okay? So I will go to the amounts of budget and choose hours. How many hours I have? The first, production, planned production units. No, I don't need units. The second, standard level of activity, yes, direct labor hours. So I need hours. How many hours here for my project is 30,000, I mean hours, okay? My cost is 90, and my level measuring by direct labor hours is 30,000, I mean. So how much is my standard rate? This is my standard rate. Again, this is my standard rate. Budget, this is my budget. Budget fixed overhead, I can get it from number 2 information here. And 30,000 hours. So here 3 per hour. 3 per hour. So your problem, how to calculate standard rate. And how to calculate standard hours. But I solved this problem of calculating standard hours allowed when I solved the problem of variable overhead. So I told you I will take it as it is. My standard hours allowed was, if you remember, 25,000. So this applied overhead. 25,000 from previous solution of variable overhead times 3, my standard rate today for fixed. So the applied is 75. Again, 75. Here I have 3 amounts needed to prepare the performance report of fixed overhead. The first one is actual overhead. Here I have 89. Secondly, budgeted overhead for fixed here 90. And I calculated the applied fixed overhead. Here I have 75. Don't forget you have two problems, how to calculate standard hours, how to calculate standard rate. But I concentrate today on calculating standard rate because I have standard hours allowed from previous lecture, okay? If I have these three amounts of fixed, I can prepare my performance report. No equations. Again, no equations for fixed overhead. But I will ask you to analyze the variances using only the performance report. Don't forget, here I have actual fixed overhead given here. The budget, I know the budget. And applied, again, applied fixed overhead. Here I have 75 calculated. The difference between actual and budget, here I have new variances, especially for fixed overhead. The difference between actual and budgeted fixed overhead, we say budget variance. Again, budget variance. 89 minus, again, 89 minus 90 will equal, yes, negative 1,000. Negative F. It means my actual less than the planned fixed cost. So we say favorable. The difference between budget and applied, here I have 90 minus 75 will equal 90 more than 75. The difference is 15, so I speak about positive 15. What is the name? I have a special name also here. The difference between budget and applied, we say capacity variance. Again, capacity variance. If I calculate the difference between number 1 actual fixed cost and number 3 applied fixed cost, yes, the difference between what? 89 here, the difference between 89, my actual amount here, and applied 75. 89 minus 75, yes, 89 more than 75, so the difference will be positive. 89 minus 75 will equal, yes, 14. This is my total variance for fixed overhead. Okay? If you want to check your answer, don't forget. The total variance here, positive 14. Positive will be unfavorable. Must equal what? Must equal budget and capacity. Here the budget is negative 1,000 and the capacity equals, capacity variance I mean equals positive 15 unfavorable. So the total of them, again the total of them must equal the total variance here, 14,000 unfavorable. Okay? This is the last part of our standard costing variance analysis. If I am a company, again, if I am a company, I have to calculate the total variance of manufacturing costs. Again, manufacturing costs, I mean direct material and direct labor and overhead. This is the total variance of the company. Internally, I have to analyze this total variance into two parts. The first one, direct material. Direct material, I have to calculate the total variance of direct material. Actual cost of direct material minus standard cost of direct material only. So this part of the total variance of the company related to direct material. And then analyze direct material. Variances may be 2-way, maybe 3-way, maybe 4-way if I have more than one kind of direct material and I have ability to replace. Okay, the total variance of the company, part of it direct material. The second step, I calculate direct labor variances. The first step, the total variance of direct labor. Again, total variance of direct labor. Actual direct labor cost minus, Yes, standard direct labor cost. The difference is the total variance of direct labor, and then analyze direct labor. Maybe 2, maybe 3 way. Okay, the third part of the total variance of the company, again, total variance of the company, part related to direct material, the second part related to direct labor, and the third part related to manufacturing overhead. Manufacturing overhead may be variable, may be fixed. So I will calculate the total variance of variable and analyze. And then total variance of fixed and analyze. Okay? In direct material, direct labor, variable overhead, I can use equations and performance report. But only for fixed, I will use performance report. Okay? Now I will repeat again. Speaking about variable overhead. And in next lecture, I will give you a big problem for a company and how to analyze all variances of the company. I mean, direct material, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead. Okay? Here I have a very simple example again. Very simple example in a company showing a variable, again, variable manufacturing overhead standard per unit. Here everything is very easy. Why? Because I have the rates and the standards per unit. I mean, I don't have the budget to calculate the standard and the hours, all of them here calculated. So this problem is concentrates only on how to prepare performance report or how to use equations, but you have very simple amounts. But from my point of view, don't forget, from my point of view, your problem in manufacturing overhead, regardless you speak about variable or fixed, is how to calculate the standards per hour, standards rates and standard hours, okay? Here I have 1.2 standard hours per unit from the budget. I have equation to calculate this standard hours per unit, and 4 per hour it's, I have equation to calculate manufacturing overhead standard rate for manufacturing variable overhead. Last month, employees actually worked, actually worked 2,500 hours to make 2,000 units. Here I speak about actually worked hours, it means actual hours. To make 2,000, it means, yes, actual production. If my actual variable, I speak about only variable here, manufacturing overhead for the month is 10,500. I want you to analyze the variances using performance report or equation. Again, in variable overhead, I use only 2 way. Okay, only 2 way. Regardless, my first requirement is to prepare performance report or equation. Regardless the requirement, I told you, you have to calculate your amounts. Your table for manufacturing overhead, like your table for direct labor, okay? But especially treatment for, or special treatment when I speak about for fixed overhead, okay? I speak about totals. This is my table. Actual hours. Here I have actual hours. Actual hours. And I have actual cost. If I have actual hours and I have actual cost, I can get actual rate. Actual cost, not nil. Again, not nil. The second, standard data. Standard hours allowed. Here I need what? Actual production times standard hours per unit. Here I have standard hours per unit given. Again, given. But if you have exam in future, and I will ask you to analyze the variances of variable, you have to, again, you have to, how to calculate standard per unit, per hour here, okay? Standard hours per unit and standard rate per hour, etc., okay? Here I have 2000 times 1.2, and standard rate is given here, standard rate is given here, but I have equation to calculate, and this my standard cost. If I have actual hours, actual rate, actual cost, and I have standard also, I can prepare equations, I can prepare performance report, no problem, okay? The first requirement was what? Yes, performance report. How to use this table, again, how to use this table to prepare performance report. For performance report, for variable, not for fixed, for variable, I need what? Actual in the last section. There is standard here. Actual, this is my table. Again, this is my table in the same slide. Actual hours, yes. Actual hours, here I have. Actual hours, yes. 2,500. Okay. Actual rate and actual cost. And the last, I speak about what? Standard. Yes. Okay, standard. This is my standard. Standard rate. This is my standard rate and my standard cost. What about in the middle? Yes, I need what? Actual hours. Actual hours. Again, actual hours. And what? Standard rate. This is my standard rate. Actual hours, 2,500 times 4 will equal 10. Okay? This the first part of my table, actual. And this my second part, I mean, in my table, standard. And here I have actual hours and standard rate. Okay? The difference between 1 and 2, don't forget I talk about variable, okay? Variable. Yes, spending variance. 10,500 minus 10,000 will equal positive 5. 500 positive U, spending. Spending. What is the second? The difference between hours when I speak about variable, yes, like labor. Efficiency variance. Efficiency variance. The difference between 1 and 3, I mean the difference between actual and standard. Actual here, 10,500 and standard 9,600, so the difference will equal total variances, the total variance. 10, again, 10,500, here 9,600, so the difference will equal positive 900. Don't forget the total of spending, 500 plus efficiency, 400, must equal the total variance. This is how to prepare the performance report for variable overhead. Like how to prepare for labor, direct labor, I mean, but instead of direct labor and variable, instead of spending, I will say rate. If I ask you to calculate the variances using equations, don't forget the first step, my table. Again, my table again. This is my table. This is my first step to solve any problem, to calculate any variances, regardless direct material, direct labor, variable or fixed overhead. Here, 4 equations, I have to calculate the total variance firstly. I told you in performance report already I have the total variance. But here you have to calculate firstly, you have to calculate what? The total variance. The total variance is the difference between actual cost, again, the difference actual cost and standard cost. This is the difference. Here I have Positive 900 will equal what? Will equal 900 unfavorable, don't forget, unfavorable. After calculating the total, I can classify the total into two parts. The first one, efficiency, and the second is spending, if you remember. The first one is what? Efficiency. Again, efficiency. How to calculate the efficiency variance? Efficiency variance is the difference between actual hours, standard hours, times standard rate. Efficiency is the difference between hours, again, hours. I need what? Actual hours, it's actual hours. Standard and standard hours. 2,500 minus what? Yes, 2,400 times standard, this is my standard rate. If you know the equation and you calculate the amounts, there is no problem for you at all. This is my efficiency variance. 2,500 minus 2,400 will equal positive 100 times 4 will equal positive, unfavorable. The second is what? Efficiency and, yes, spending. How to calculate spending? The difference between rates. Actual rate minus standard rate times actual hours. Again, I need what? Actual rate. And what? Standard rate times actual hours. Everything you have, inside your table of costs. This is how to calculate spending. 4.2 minus 4 will equal positive 0.2 times 2,500. Here I have 500 unfavorable. Don't forget, in the previous slide, I need to explain why I have total variance. Do you remember the total variance? This is my total variance. Again, my total variance. So the total of efficiency and spending must equal what? Must equal total variance. Okay, must equal total variance. Okay. Maybe I ask you the same problem, against the same problem, but instead of asking you to calculate the variances, indirectly I ask you MCQ. Regardless the requirement is to calculate directly or to choose and calculate indirectly, you have to prepare the table, the same problem, but the difference in question here. If I ask you here efficiency variance, you have to prepare your table firstly. Prepare performance report, prepare equation, no problem. I ask you to what? Efficiency variance. How to calculate efficiency variance? Efficiency. Okay, don't choose. You have to calculate firstly. Do you remember this is my table? Again, this is my table, and this is my efficiency equation. Actual hours, again, actual hours, standard hours times standard rate. So this is my correct answer. If my problem is to calculate spending variance, here don't choose, you have to calculate. You have to go back to your table. You remember, this is my table. How to calculate spending? Again, spending, the difference between actual rate, yes, standard rate times actual hours. Here I have my spending variance. Again, you have to know how to calculate the total variance, how to analyze the total variance into spending and efficiency. Regardless, I ask you to calculate the variances using performance report or using equation for variable overhead. But for fixed overhead, I speak about only performance report and how to calculate 3 amounts of fixed and 2 variances. The variances are spending and efficiency for variable overhead, but the variances are budget and capacity for fixed overhead. Okay? My problem is I have only a limited time to record my lecture. Okay, so the next lecture, بإذن الله, I will complete how to analyze all variances of the company. نتقابلوا على خير وربنا يحفظنا جميعا. السلام عليكم.